History is filled with discoveries that both awe and unsettle us. Across deserts, oceans, and mountains, ancient civilizations left behind relics, structures, and artifacts that challenge our understanding of the past. Some are beautiful, some terrifying, and many remain unexplained even by modern science. In this exploration, we will journey through these mysteries, the objects, monuments, and civilizations that defy explanation, whispering stories across millennia. From eerie mummies frozen in expressions of fear, to enormous constructions whose purpose we may never fully understand, each discovery invites us to question what we know about human history. The allure lies not just in the objects themselves, but in the tension they create, the boundary between fact and legend, the visible and the hidden. As we examine these relics, we also encounter the ingenuity, ambition, and perhaps even fear that drove their creation. This journey will not be hurried. We will move gently through time and space, pausing to observe, reflect, and imagine. Each site and artifact offers a glimpse into the unknown, a quiet invitation to contemplate the civilizations that came before us. Through deserts, oceans, and underground chambers, from crystal skulls to colossal earthworks, we will explore relics that continue to baffle scientists. These mysteries remind us that the past is layered and complex, that some secrets endure, and that curiosity, patient, quiet, and reflective, is our guide across the shadows of history. In the deserts of Egypt, archaeologists uncovered mummies whose expressions tell a story frozen in time. Their mouths open, eyes wide, as if capturing the final moments of terror. These are not ordinary mummies. Some were believed to have been buried alive or subjected to extreme rituals, preserving an expression of fear that has haunted scientists and historians alike. The mummies' contorted faces provoke a deep sense of unease, a reminder of the fragility of life and the rituals of death practiced thousands of years ago. Skeptics argue that the expressions may result from natural post-mortem processes, yet the intensity remains striking. Some mummies seem to scream eternally, a silent testament to human suffering and the mysteries of ancient burial practices. These discoveries challenge our assumptions about ancient Egypt. They reveal practices and moments that are hidden from historical records, moments of terror, ritual, and mortality that survive only through physical traces. Observing them encourages reflection on the human experience, the fear, the devotion, and the rituals surrounding death, and underscores the tension between what we know and what remains unknowable. The screaming mummies set the stage for our journey, a reminder that even in death, the past can speak, unnerving and mesmerizing those who listen with quiet attention. Scattered across continents, crystal skulls have captivated collectors, scientists, and mystics for centuries. Carved from quartz, their flawless symmetry and haunting presence suggest a skill beyond the known capabilities of ancient civilizations. Some skulls are small enough to hold in one hand, others large and imposing, but all share an eerie perfection that seems almost otherworldly. Legend suggests that these skulls hold knowledge, spiritual power, or even the ability to see the future. Modern science has attempted to analyze their origins, often revealing conflicting results. Some show signs of modern tools, while others remain unexplained. The tension between fact and myth only adds to their fascination. Unlike other artifacts, crystal skulls do not tell a clear story. They are silent, yet their presence evokes reflection, curiosity, and even unease. Were they sacred objects, artistic achievements, or something more? Their mystery lies not only in their craftsmanship, but in the unanswered questions they leave behind. As we contemplate these quartz relics, we are reminded that the past contains wonders that cannot always be explained, and that some mysteries endure precisely because they resist full understanding. Beneath the waves near the small Greek island of Antikythera, divers discovered a corroded lump of bronze that would change our understanding of ancient technology. Initially unremarkable, it was later revealed to be the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient analog device capable of predicting the movements of the sun, moon, and planets, as well as eclipses. Its intricate gears and inscriptions suggest knowledge of mathematics and astronomy far beyond what was thought possible for its time. The precision of the mechanism astonishes modern engineers. Each gear interlocks perfectly, forming a system that rivals clocks built over a millennium later. Researchers have spent decades decoding its functions, revealing layers of complexity that hint at a civilization deeply attuned to the cosmos. Yet, no other comparable artifacts have been found, raising questions about lost knowledge and vanished workshops. The device embodies the tension between the known and the unknown. We can reconstruct its calculations, but the identity of its creators, the purpose of the ship carrying it, and the extent of the technological tradition it represents remain mysteries. It serves as a reminder that human curiosity and ingenuity have always reached far beyond the record left behind. The Antikythera mechanism is more than an object, it is a bridge across time. It connects us to the Hellenistic scholars who first envisioned it, allowing us to trace their attempts to understand the heavens. Its survival, after centuries beneath the sea, is almost miraculous, offering a glimpse into the brilliance of the past and the mysteries that still lie beneath the surface of history. In the vast, sun-scorched deserts of southern Peru, the earth itself has been transformed into a silent canvas, etched with lines and shapes so immense that their true form is only revealed when viewed from the sky. These are the Nazca Lines, a collection of geoglyphs spanning hundreds of square miles, depicting animals, plants, geometric patterns, and abstract forms. From the ground, they appear as nothing more than long scratches or depressions in the dusty soil. But as one ascends in a small plain, the images emerge with startling clarity. A hummingbird poised in flight, a monkey curled in an elegant spiral, a spider whose legs stretch with precise geometry. The scale, precision, and mysterious purpose of these creations continue to captivate both archaeologists and casual observers, inviting contemplation of civilizations long vanished, yet somehow leaving whispers of their existence across the desert floor. The Nazca people, who flourished between 500 BCE and 500 CE, are credited with the creation of these lines, yet much about their intent remains elusive. Archaeologists have identified hundreds of geoglyphs, as well as thousands of straight lines stretching for kilometers, some intersecting at angles that suggest deliberate planning and measurement. These designs were created by removing the reddish-brown surface stones to reveal lighter soil beneath, a process that appears simple but would have required careful planning to maintain scale and proportion across such immense distances. Some patterns, so geometrically precise, suggest knowledge of surveying and astronomy that goes far beyond what one might expect from a culture with no written language. The mystery of how they achieved such accuracy across flat and uneven terrain only deepens the allure. Among the most compelling features of the Nazca Lines is their apparent connection to the sky. Scholars have long speculated that some of the lines align with the solstices, equinoxes, or the rising and setting of important stars. Could these lines have served as ceremonial pathways, astronomical calendars, or perhaps both? Others propose that they were intended for the gods, visible only from the air, as if to communicate with beings who watch from above. From this perspective, the desert becomes more than a barren landscape. It transforms into a sacred stage, where the living and the divine may have intersected, and where human ambition reaches upward, striving to connect with forces unseen and eternal. Walking the Nazca Desert, one cannot help but feel a humbling sense of scale. The simplicity of the materials, rocks, soil, and human hands, contrasts sharply with the complexity of the vision required to create these lines. There are no records left by the Nazca people to explain their purpose. No writings, no inscriptions, no guiding documents. Only the lines themselves, stretching in silent testimony across the land, pointing toward horizons we can barely comprehend. The desert holds its breath as the wind moves gently across the surface, shifting dust over ancient paths, Yet somehow the designs endure, preserved by aridity, patience, and perhaps a touch of the miraculous. The animals and shapes themselves evoke a sense of wonder and speculation. A hummingbird seems to hover perpetually in flight, its wings carved with attention to detail that suggests both observation and imagination. A monkey's spiral tail curves in perfect proportion, inviting viewers to trace its motion with their eyes and consider the motion of life itself. Some geometric figures are so precise they appear to be blueprints of knowledge, abstract yet deliberate. Each shape seems to tell a story, yet what that story is remains hidden, like a language waiting to be deciphered. The desert becomes a gallery of expression, an eternal museum whose curators are long gone, leaving only their art and its endless questions. The mystery deepens when considering how the Nazca people could maintain accuracy across such vast distances without aerial perspective. One theory suggests the use of simple surveying tools, stakes, ropes, and grids to map out the design systematically. Yet even with these tools, the precision is astonishing. Lines run straight for kilometers, intersecting at angles that form complex geometric patterns, while images retain their proportions across undulating terrain. The effort required to execute these works, combined with their durability, speaks to a civilization that valued meticulous planning, spiritual or ceremonial significance, and an understanding of the world far greater than what remains recorded. Legends and modern interpretations layer additional intrigue over these geoglyphs. Some theorists speculate about alien influence, suggesting that the designs were meant for observation from the skies by beings beyond Earth. While these ideas remain speculative and often sensationalized, they underscore the powerful effect the Nazca lines have on the human imagination. Even when approached with scientific caution, the lines provoke wonder, awe, and a gentle unease, a feeling that someone or something left these marks with intention, and that intention is no longer fully accessible to us. The Nazca lines also reflect a profound connection between humans and their environment. The creators worked with the materials at hand, sculpting meaning from the desert itself. The barren landscape was transformed into a living canvas, a space where the rhythm of human labor met the rhythm of nature. There is an inherent poetry in this process. The sweeping lines, the animal forms, and the geometric designs all suggest observation, contemplation, and reverence. The desert becomes not just a backdrop, but a partner in creation, amplifying the mystery of why these figures were made and how they have endured for centuries, untouched by floods or vegetation, preserved by the quiet persistence of the arid land. Walking or flying over the Nazca lines, one is also struck by the contrast between the enormity of the works and the simplicity of their materials. There is no metal, no complex machinery, only the ingenuity of human hands and the patience to carry out a vision that spans kilometers. The lines are both fragile and resilient, a subtle scratch in the earth that endures through time, wind, and occasional human encroachment. They invite a reflection on the fleeting nature of human life and the permanence of human curiosity, how acts of intention can echo across millennia, visible long after the creators have returned to dust. In contemplating the Nazca lines, we sense a connection not just to the Nazca people, but to humanity's enduring desire to communicate across time. Whether the lines were meant as messages to the gods, calendars to mark celestial events, or expressions of artistry and power, they embody a paradox. They are at once visible and invisible, clear from above yet opaque from the ground, tangible in form yet elusive in meaning. This duality mirrors the tension we encounter throughout history, between what can be understood and what must remain a mystery. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across the desert, the Nazca lines remain, etched into the earth with the patience of generations and the quiet persistence of human imagination. Their message, whether ritual, scientific, or artistic, is not easily deciphered, and perhaps it is not meant to be. They are monuments to thought, devotion, and curiosity, stretching across time and space, inviting us to walk gently, observe closely, and wonder endlessly. From these lines etched in sand, our journey moves next to a different kind of enigma, a sunken monument off the coast of Japan, where stone and water combine to hide shapes that may be natural or may speak of civilizations lost beneath the tide. As with the Nazca lines, there is a delicate interplay between observation, interpretation, and mystery, and it is in this space that our understanding and our imagination must expand. Beneath the tranquil waters off the southern coast of Okinawa, Japan, a mysterious formation lies hidden, visible only to those who dive deep into the ocean's gentle embrace. At first glance, the Yonaguni Monument appears as a natural rock formation, jagged and worn by centuries of waves. Yet as divers explore its terraces, steps, and seemingly deliberate angles, the question emerges: is this a creation of nature, or a construction of human hands lost to the tides of time? The monument stretches over hundreds of meters, with flat plains, right angles, and smooth surfaces that suggest more than random geological processes. It is a place where water, stone, and human imagination converge, inviting quiet contemplation and a sense of wonder that deepens with every descent. The first modern reports of the monument emerged in the 1980s when divers and researchers began documenting the site. They found massive terraces that resemble platforms, ridges that form straight lines, and structures that appear to have been deliberately shaped. Some sections resemble staircases, others resemble walls and avenues that could once have connected buildings or ceremonial spaces. The scale is imposing. Enormous slabs weigh tens of tons, their precision suggesting labor, tools, and intent that seems impossible to fully account for in a prehistoric context. Every dive reveals more details, yet the deeper one goes, the more elusive the truth becomes, as the monument sits quietly beneath the waves, untouched and preserved by the ocean's steady currents. The debate surrounding Yonaguni is intense and ongoing. Geologists point to natural explanations, tectonic shifts, erosion, and fracturing that can create angular formations. Others note the presence of similar patterns in nearby rocks, suggesting that nature alone could have carved these shapes. Yet the monument defies easy categorization. Certain features, terraces that are perfectly level, right-angled edges, and apparent pathways, challenge purely geological explanations. The possibility that humans shaped these massive stones millennia ago, before recorded history in the region, raises profound questions about the origins and capabilities of ancient civilizations. The sense of mystery is heightened by the monument's underwater context. Unlike structures on land, Yonaguni is shrouded in water, softening edges and diffusing light, creating an almost dreamlike appearance. Divers describe a quiet stillness, a gentle hum from the ocean currents, and the sensation of moving through a world suspended between reality and imagination. It is easy to imagine a civilization once walking these terraces, perhaps performing rituals, measuring the stars, or building structures whose purpose is now lost. Yet as we float above, the absence of written records, tools, or other corroborating artifacts leaves only speculation. The water preserves the mystery as effectively as it preserves the stone. One of the most striking aspects of the Yonaguni Monument is its scale and apparent precision. Massive slabs are aligned in ways that seem intentional, with steps and ramps that suggest functionality. The largest terraces stretch over 10 meters in width and rise several meters above the seabed, forming spaces that could have accommodated communal activity. The angles of the steps and platforms are so regular that they evoke comparisons to pyramids and megalithic sites elsewhere in the world. The monument challenges assumptions about prehistoric societies, inviting us to consider whether early civilizations might have possessed knowledge, skills, and ambitions far beyond what has survived in the historical record. Some researchers propose that Yonaguni may have been part of a larger, now submerged civilization, lost due to rising sea levels following the last ice age. During that time, coastlines were much lower, and the land that is now underwater may have been a thriving settlement. If true, the monument could be a remnant of human habitation, ritual activity, or ceremonial construction, offering tantalizing glimpses into a world erased by climate and time. Others caution that such claims are speculative and that the monument may be in natural formation, enhanced in appearance by our innate tendency to find patterns. Regardless, the allure of possibility persists, drawing divers, historians, and dreamers alike to peer beneath the waves in search of answers. The monument's mystery is amplified by the interplay of light and water. Sunlight filtering through the waves dances across the stone terraces, casting shifting shadows that transform their appearance from one moment to the next. This interplay creates an almost hypnotic effect, inviting quiet reflection and a sense of connection to the past. The diver moves slowly, tracing the edges of terraces, examining channels and grooves that might be natural or might be carved. Each observation is a meditation, a dialogue between observer and artifact, fact and interpretation, certainty and speculation. In this space, the line between reality and imagination softens, creating a unique sense of calm awe. The Yonaguni Monument also raises philosophical questions about history itself. If humans did shape these stones, then what civilization created them? How advanced were they, and why do we know so little of their story? If the monument is entirely natural, then the precision of its forms remains an extraordinary coincidence, a reminder of the uncanny beauty inherent in the natural world. Either way, the monument challenges the boundaries of understanding, encouraging patience, contemplation, and openness to possibilities beyond conventional explanations. It is a site that rewards quiet observation and reflection, allowing the mind to wander gently through time, history, and imagination. The monument has inspired both scientific research and imaginative storytelling. Documentaries, books, and articles explore every angle, from geology and archaeology to mythology and speculative history. Some propose connections to lost civilizations mentioned in myths, while others examine the formation purely through empirical methods. Yet the monument resists final interpretation, leaving a lingering sense of wonder. In its silence and submersion, it holds lessons about humility, about the limits of human knowledge and the patience required to engage with mysteries that may never be fully resolved. Diving among the terraces of Yonaguni, one cannot help but feel a sense of continuity with humanity across millennia. The monument evokes echoes of other enigmatic sites, pyramids, megaliths, underground chambers, where human creativity and ambition intersect with the unknown. It reminds us that the pursuit of understanding is both a deeply intellectual and profoundly emotional journey. The diver experiences not only a physical sight, but a connection to lives, intentions, and possibilities that extend far beyond written history. The calm observation of the site becomes a meditation, a way to inhabit the space between fact and mystery, certainty and imagination. As the diver ascends toward the sunlight, leaving the monument to its quiet repose beneath the waves, a gentle reflection settles in. Yonaguni remains both real and enigmatic, a formation that may be natural, human-made, or a combination of both. It stands as a testament to the allure of the unknown, to the persistence of mystery, and to the human impulse to explore, question, and wonder. From this sunken stone city, our journey moves next to the Longyu Caves of China, vast underground chambers hewn from solid rock, whose purpose and construction continue to baffle historians and engineers alike. Like Yonaguni, the caves remind us that the past is layered, often hidden, and always whispering to those willing to listen with patience and reverence. In the quiet hills of Zhejiang Province, China, a series of caverns lies hidden beneath the earth, silent and imposing. Known as the Longyu Caves, these massive underground chambers were accidentally rediscovered by farmers in 1992 when one noticed water pooling strangely in his field. At first, It seemed impossible that such structures could exist, for there were no records, inscriptions, or legends pointing to their creation. As explorers began to enter the caves, they found spaces so vast and meticulously carved that they defied explanation. Each cavern spans thousands of square meters, with ceilings reaching impressive heights, walls marked by uniform chisel patterns, and floors so smooth and level that they evoke a sense of architectural mastery far beyond what one might expect from a civilization dating back thousands of years. The scale of the Lanyu caves is staggering. Some chambers reach heights of over 30 meters, with intricate support pillars that suggest careful engineering to prevent collapse. The walls are lined with parallel grooves, etched with precision that hints at advanced tools and meticulous labor. Unlike natural caves, there are no traces of water erosion or geological forces that could account for the uniformity and sheer size of these spaces. The caves are a silent testament to a civilization capable of planning and executing construction projects on a monumental scale, yet one that left no historical records, no mention in chronicles, and no explanation for their existence. The mystery is both thrilling and humbling, inviting quiet reflection on the limits of what we know about ancient engineering and human ambition. Some speculate that the caves served as storage facilities, shelters, or ceremonial spaces, though no artifacts, tools, or human remains have been found to confirm these theories. Their function remains a matter of debate, deepening the sense of mystery. Why invest such immense labor and precision into a construction whose purpose seems almost deliberately concealed? Each cavern invites contemplation of the unknown, of the hands that carved rock with patience and care, of the minds that conceived structures whose use has been lost to time, and of a civilization that undertook such feats yet left no narrative behind. One of the most striking features of the Lanyu caves is the uniformity of their walls and ceilings. The parallel chisel marks form a repetitive pattern that is both methodical and hypnotic, suggesting not only skill but intention. It is as if the builders wanted every surface to convey order and harmony, a testament to human precision and discipline. Walking through the caverns, one experiences a profound sense of scale and symmetry, a feeling amplified by the echo of footsteps and the cool, silent air that has remained undisturbed for centuries. There is a meditative quality to these spaces, a rhythm in their construction that resonates with those who explore them gently, without haste. The rediscovery of the caves challenged assumptions about ancient Chinese civilizations. Traditional historical accounts do not mention them, and the techniques required to carve these chambers from solid sandstone remain unknown. Some engineers and archaeologists have attempted to replicate similar spaces, only to find the task astonishingly difficult, requiring tools, manpower, and coordination that suggest a highly organized society. The caves, therefore, raise questions not only about who built them, but also about what other achievements of the past have been lost, buried under earth and time, leaving only hints for future generations to uncover. As divers of knowledge descend into these subterranean chambers, metaphorically, if not literally, the Lanyu caves evoke the same sense of paradox found in other ancient mysteries. They are at once tangible and intangible, monumental yet elusive, orderly yet secretive. The sheer craftsmanship suggests intelligence and purpose, yet the absence of context leaves the mind floating in speculation. Were these caves places of worship, safe havens, or repositories of knowledge? Perhaps they were ceremonial, intended to awe those who entered, or to mark a sacred connection with the earth itself. Whatever their original function, the caves have become a meditation on human ingenuity and the enduring enigma of history. The silence within the caves amplifies their mystique. Light, when brought from the surface, spills across smooth floors and etched walls, casting long shadows that shift with every movement. The air is cool, carrying a faint earthy scent that speaks of centuries untouched by human presence. In this environment, one can almost imagine the builders at work, chiseling with determination, coordinating their efforts with skill and purpose. The caves become a space where time feels fluid. Past and present coexist, and the mystery of creation becomes a mirror reflecting our own curiosity and awe. The Lanyu Caves also highlight the interplay between human labor and natural forces. Carving rock of such density requires understanding not only of tools, but of structural integrity and the behavior of stone under stress. The builders demonstrated a mastery over their environment, shaping the earth with precision, and yet leaving no narrative to explain their motivation. The caves, in this sense, are a silent dialogue between human ambition and natural resistance, a testament to creativity, patience, and the desire to leave a mark that endures beyond individual lifetimes. For modern explorers, engineers, and historians, the caves are both a challenge and a meditation. Each corridor, chamber, and pillar invites careful observation and reflection. Unlike artifacts that can be lifted or measured in a laboratory, the caves demand engagement with space itself. They encourage slow movement, thoughtful attention, and a quiet curiosity that mirrors the contemplative tone of our journey through ancient mysteries. Every discovery within the caves, a groove in a wall, a pillar that bears subtle stress marks, the alignment of chambers, is a reminder that human achievement can be both monumental and elusive, a whisper of intelligence from a civilization that remains largely unknown. The Lanyu Caves also bridge our understanding of mystery across cultures and geographies. Like the Nazca Lines in Peru or the Yonaguni Monument in Japan, they evoke awe through scale, precision, and ambiguity. They remind us that the past is filled with feats that challenge our assumptions and invite humility. In the quiet of these caverns, we are confronted not only with human skill, but with the limits of knowledge, the delicate balance between evidence and interpretation, and the enduring appeal of unanswered questions. Emerging from the caves, back into the sunlight and the rhythms of the modern world, one carries with them a sense of reverence. The Lanyu Caves are not merely underground spaces. They are meditative corridors through time, echoing with the whispers of those who shaped them and the silent mystery that surrounds them still. They stand as a testament to the patience, ambition, and skill of humans long forgotten, and as a reminder that history is as much about what is hidden as what is revealed. From the shadowed depths of the Lanyu Caves, our journey will next ascend to another marvel, the Great Serpent Mound of Ohio. Unlike the hidden chambers of China, this is a monument carved into the earth, visible from above, its purpose and symbolism still a subject of debate. As with the caves, it invites us to consider human intent, the passage of time, and the enduring pull of mystery that stretches across continents and cultures. In the rolling hills of Adams County, Ohio, a silent giant stretches across the landscape, visible not from the ground, but from above. The Great Serpent Mound, a prehistoric effigy mound in the shape of a coiled serpent, winds its way over 400 meters of earth, its head raised as if poised to strike. From the air, the sinuous curves reveal a design of astonishing sophistication, suggesting careful planning, astronomical alignment, and a symbolic intention that continues to elude definitive interpretation. For centuries, the mound has inspired awe, speculation, and reverence, a reminder that humans have long sought to inscribe meaning onto the land itself, leaving messages to time, to the heavens, or perhaps to forces we cannot fully comprehend. The mound is believed to have been constructed by ancient Native American cultures, though exactly which group remains a topic of debate. Radiocarbon dating suggests that it may have been built anywhere between 1000 BCE and 1400 CE, a span that covers multiple cultural periods and generations. Its purpose, like its creator's identity, remains enigmatic. Some scholars suggest the serpent represents a cosmological symbol, perhaps related to cycles of the moon, solstices, or other celestial events. Others argue that it may have served as a ceremonial site, a place of ritual, or a marker for sacred geography. Regardless of intent, the mound's scale and precision hint at a society capable of complex organization and shared vision. able to transform the land itself into a canvas of meaning. Walking along the serpent's undulating form, one is struck by the rhythm and flow of its design. The coils are deliberate, each bend harmonizing with the next, creating a sense of motion frozen in earth. The serpent's head curves upward, and some theories suggest it aligns with the summer solstice sunset, while the tail may trace lunar or solar cycles. Whether intentional or coincidental, these alignments amplify the monument's sense of connection to the cosmos, linking the earthbound labor of ancient peoples with the patterns of the heavens. Standing on the mound, the visitor senses a quiet dialogue between human effort, natural topography, and celestial cycles, a dialogue that has persisted for centuries without a single written word to explain it. The construction of the serpent mound raises questions about ancient engineering. The mound consists of carefully shaped earth, compacted over generations, forming terraces, curves, and ridges with remarkable stability. The choice of location, a ridge overlooking Brush Creek, may have been deliberate, offering visibility, prominence, or spiritual significance. The labor required to move tons of soil without modern tools, while maintaining the monument's proportions and alignment, speaks to a coordinated effort and a shared cultural or spiritual vision. The project's scale and precision suggest a society with both technical knowledge and symbolic intent, capable of translating abstract ideas into enduring, monumental forms. What makes the serpent mound particularly compelling is the tension between its visibility and its mystery. From the ground, the coils appear as gentle rises, subtle and modest. Yet from an elevated perspective, its full design and magnitude are revealed, a hidden message visible only to those who can perceive it in entirety. This duality, intimate at ground level, expansive from above, mirrors the broader theme of ancient mysteries. Human creations often hold layers of meaning that cannot be grasped fully from a single viewpoint. The mound encourages contemplation, inviting observers to imagine both the creators who shaped it and the eyes that first beheld it from a distance, perhaps as part of a ritual or spiritual practice. The serpent itself carries deep symbolic resonance. Across cultures and epochs, serpents have represented cycles, transformation, life, death, and the unseen forces of nature. The coil design of the mound evokes movement, growth, and continuity, suggesting that the builders were deeply attuned to the rhythms of life and the cosmos. Some researchers have proposed that the head of the serpent aligns with the summer solstice sunset, connecting the monument to celestial observation and seasonal cycles. Others interpret the coils as lunar calendars, mapping the moon's phases across time. While certainty eludes us, the symbolic richness of the design underscores the depth of thought and cultural sophistication that shaped the mound. Legends and oral traditions add another layer of intrigue. Though the precise cultural context has faded, Native American narratives often speak of serpents, dragons, and spiritual beings connected to the earth and sky. The serpent mound may have been a locus for rituals, offerings, or ceremonies honoring these forces, bridging the human and the divine. Even in the absence of direct records, the monument resonates with a quiet power, suggesting that ancient peoples left more than soil and form behind. They left intention, energy, and a connection that persists across centuries. Standing atop the coils, one can feel a link not only to the builders themselves, but to the natural world they observed and revered. The mound also challenges modern assumptions about prehistoric societies in North America. Often imagined as simple or unsophisticated, the serpent mound reminds us that complexity and creativity existed long before written records. Its scale, alignment, and symbolic resonance suggest a culture capable of abstract thought, advanced planning, and communal effort. It invites a reevaluation of history, emphasizing that human ingenuity has always found expression in ways that endure, sometimes quietly, sometimes boldly, and always mysteriously. In considering the serpent mound, one is struck by the interplay of permanence and ephemerality. The earth endures, yet the details of the culture, the minds and the hands that built it are largely lost. The monument preserves form but not narrative. It communicates presence but not certainty. This tension mirrors other ancient mysteries we have encountered. The screaming mummies of Egypt, the crystal skulls, the Antikythera mechanism. All creations that speak across time, offering glimpses of genius, ritual, or imagination, yet leaving questions unanswered. The Serpent Mound embodies this duality, reminding us that mystery is as much a part of history as facts and records. As the sun sets over the Ohio hills, casting long shadows across the serpent's coils, the monument takes on a meditative quality. The lines and curves, the ridges and terraces, all seem to breathe with the quiet rhythm of time. There's a serenity here, a slow, deliberate pace that invites reflection. It is a place where one can imagine generations of people observing the seasons, performing rituals, or contemplating the cycles of life and death. The mound endures, not only as a physical structure, but as a quiet repository of human curiosity, creativity, and reverence for the unknown. The Great Serpent Mound, like so many enigmatic sites, bridges the realms of archaeology, astronomy, and spirituality. It reminds us that human beings have always sought to connect with forces beyond themselves, to map, honor, and understand the world around them. The act of shaping Earth into a form visible from above reflects both imagination and intention, ambition and humility. It challenges the observer to think beyond modern frameworks, to consider what humans are capable of when vision, labor, and purpose converge. From the serpent coiled in Ohio, our journey will soon lead to Europe, where the enigmatic pyramids of Bosnia invite similar wonder and debate. These ancient structures, their age and purpose still debated, stand as a testament to human ingenuity and the enduring allure of mystery. Just as the serpent winds across the earth, so too does our exploration of the unknown, tracing the contours of human history and curiosity across continents, cultures, and centuries. In the stillness of a small Texan town, where the heat shimmers across lonely fields and the scent of red dust hangs in the air, a strange discovery was made, one that would quietly ripple across the scientific and fringe communities alike. It began in 1936, when a simple family outing turned into something far more profound. Two hikers, a man and his wife, were walking along a rocky bluff near the small town of London, Texas, a place with little claim to fame beyond its sun-beaten hills and winding creeks. Among the limestone and sand, they stumbled upon a curious stone concretion, half buried in the earth, with a fragment of wood protruding from it. When they cracked it open, the stone split cleanly, and what emerged from its heart would become one of the most debated artifacts in modern history. Encased within the ancient rock was a hammer, a human-made object, simple in form, yet deeply unsettling in context. Its wooden handle was partly petrified, its iron head encased in a layer of stone that seemed to defy explanation. It was as if time itself had folded over, placing a tool of civilization inside a relic of prehistory. The hammer came to be known as the London Hammer, and from that moment forward, it became a quiet symbol of the boundaries of knowledge, of what happens when something doesn't fit neatly into our understanding of the past. At first glance, it looked ordinary, the kind of hammer you might find in a blacksmith's shop a century ago. Yet the material around it suggested something older, impossibly older. Geologists estimated that the surrounding rock formation could be over 100 million years old, from a time when dinosaurs still roamed the earth. How could a hammer, a tool crafted by human hands, be embedded in rock from such a distant era? The image of it is strangely poetic, a hammer, sealed in stone, suspended between epochs. The mind cannot help but wander to the possibility that civilizations may have risen and fallen long before the recorded dawn of humankind, their traces swallowed by time. The object, though small, became a mirror for a grand and unsettling thought. What if history is far longer and far more mysterious than we have ever been willing to believe? As the hammer made its way into private hands, curiosity grew. In the 1980s, creationist researchers seized upon it as potential evidence for a young Earth, arguing that the rock could not possibly be millions of years old if it contained a modern object. They claimed that the stone had formed around the hammer in relatively recent times through rapid mineralization. On the other side, skeptics proposed the opposite, that the hammer itself had been dropped or embedded into a pre-existing nodule of ancient material, giving only the illusion of great age. Science and speculation collided, as they so often do, in a space of uncertainty. The hammer was eventually examined by metallurgists who found that its iron was unusually pure, with no trace of the modern impurities that typically result from smelting. Some even suggested that the technology used to forge it, if ancient, would have been beyond anything known from early human history. It was an alloy almost too clean, too refined, to be explained by primitive metallurgy. The surface showed no sign of rust, as if the iron had somehow resisted decay for untold centuries. Such details only deepened the mystery. The hammer, it seemed, refused to belong anywhere, too old for the modern era, too refined for the ancient one. In that paradox lay its haunting power. But science has its patience, and the patient have their explanations. Over time, geological analyses proposed a simpler, if less romantic, possibility. The stone around the hammer, they argued, may not be as ancient as it appeared. It could have formed through a process known as concretion, where minerals carried by groundwater deposit around an object, slowly hardening over time. Under the right conditions, this can happen astonishingly fast, within decades rather than millennia. Perhaps the hammer was indeed dropped in the 19th century, forgotten by a miner or craftsman, and the surrounding minerals simply entombed it. A natural illusion, then the appearance of antiquity born from chemistry and chance. Yet even this explanation does little to dispel the artifact's eerie presence. There is something deeply unsettling about the sight of a tool, so distinctly human, imprisoned within the geological language of eternity. The London hammer reminds us how easily time can deceive. Rocks and fossils are often read like books, with each layer telling a chapter of the Earth's story. But sometimes a stray object falls between the pages, blurring the narrative. It is here, in this ambiguity, that mystery lives. For some, the hammer became a symbol of lost civilizations, echoes of Atlantis, Lemuria, or pre-Diluvian worlds spoken of in myth. They imagined ancient engineers who mastered metallurgy long before known history, leaving behind only hints of their craft. Others saw in it the fingerprints of temporal anomalies, artifacts slipping between times, the way dreams slip between sleep and waking. Even those who reject the more fantastical interpretations feel its quiet pull. The artifact asks questions not only of geology, but of perception. Why do we long so deeply for evidence of lost ages? Why do we hunger for the idea that our story is older, stranger, more cyclic than we've been told? The human mind, it seems, finds comfort not only in knowledge, but in mystery itself. There's a kind of peace in uncertainty, a humbling recognition that we are not, and never have been, the full measure of time. Imagine that hammer now, resting under soft museum light. Its surface gleams faintly, not with revelation, but with patience. Around it, the world hums with theories and silence. Whether it is an ancient artifact misplaced by eons or a trick of nature's mineral artistry, the object has already fulfilled its true purpose. It has made us pause. It has forced us to look again at the world and admit that we do not, and perhaps never will, know everything. Beneath this calm, however, lingers an even subtler fear, the fear that time itself might not be linear, but cyclical, that civilizations rise and vanish, their remnants occasionally caught in the folds of the earth like stray thoughts in a dream, that human history is not a straight line, but a spiral, looping endlessly through creation and forgetting. The hammer, then, becomes a relic not of the past, but of recurrence, proof, perhaps, that what has been will be again. As centuries pass and our own monuments erode, one day, perhaps, someone will unearth a remnant of us, a tool, a coin, a machine sealed inside layers of stone and disbelief. They will wonder, as we do now, whether time truly flows forward or if it is only our perception that moves, leaving artifacts like anchors scattered across eternity. The London hammer may never give us answers. It remains, like so many things from the deep well of Earth's memory, suspended between explanation and enigma. But that is its beauty. It stands as a quiet reminder that even in a world of data and carbon dating, mystery still breathes in the cracks of our knowledge. And when night falls, when the mind softens and reason drifts into reverie, the thought of that hammer, encased in ancient stone, can feel almost poetic, a man-made thing, caught forever in the embrace of time itself. It is an image both terrifying and soothing, proof that history is still alive beneath our feet, whispering in minerals, waiting for us to listen. As the section draws to a close, the camera of the imagination pans slowly across the Texan landscape once more. The red earth, the faint hum of insects, the shimmer of distant heat. Somewhere beneath that quiet ground, mysteries like the hammer may still sleep, their truths sealed in stone, waiting for the gentle touch of a human hand to wake them again. In the end, perhaps the London hammer's greatest lesson is not about science or mythology, but humility. That even the smallest object, misplaced in time, can remind us how fragile our understanding truly is, how the boundaries between the ancient and the modern, the known and the unknown, are not walls but mist. And within that mist, the past still breathes, softly, eternally. High in the mist-veiled mountains of China, where the air is thin and the valleys echo with the whispers of wind, there lies a story that seems to belong more to dreams than to history. It begins not in bustling cities or grand temples, but in desolate caves, dark, silent chambers carved into the granite slopes of the Biancarollo Range. It is here, according to legend, that archaeologists stumbled upon one of the most mysterious discoveries of the 20th century. Hundreds of stone discs, each inscribed with a language that no one could read, telling a story no one could verify. The world would come to know them as the Dropa stones. Objects so quiet, so seemingly insignificant, yet so haunting that they continue to defy explanation decades later. The tale first emerged in 1938, when a team of Chinese archaeologists led by Professor Chi Pu-Ti ventured into these isolated mountains on an expedition. They sought evidence of early human habitation, bones, tools, cave art, the ordinary treasures of prehistory. But what they found was something no textbook had prepared them for. Deep within a network of interlinked caves, the walls were lined with intricate carvings, scenes of celestial bodies, stars, suns, and what appeared to be elongated human forms. On the ground lay hundreds of circular stones, each about a foot in diameter, perfectly smooth, with a small hole in the center and a delicate spiral groove etched into their surface, not unlike the grooves of a vinyl record. The scientists, uncertain of their purpose, collected the discs for study. When examined under magnification, the grooves were revealed to contain microscopic hieroglyph-like markings, a form of writing too small and too precise to have been carved by crude tools. The question was immediate and troubling. Who made these? And for what reason? For years, the stones languished in obscurity, tucked away in archives, occasionally dismissed as misinterpreted fossils or the result of natural geological processes. But in the 1960s, their legend resurfaced when a Chinese researcher named Dr. Sumum Nui reportedly managed to decipher their inscriptions. His translations were nothing short of astonishing. According to his interpretation, the Dropa stones told the story of a people who came from the clouds, extraterrestrial travelers who crash-landed in these very mountains thousands of years ago. Unable to repair their craft, they sought refuge among the primitive tribes of the region. The locals, terrified by their strange appearance, small stature, fragile frames, large skulls, and unusually wide eyes, called them Dropa, or the ones who came from stars. The narrative carved into the stones described hardship and isolation, the slow integration of these beings into the human population, and their eventual disappearance. It spoke of tragedy, of misunderstanding, and of a bridge, however brief, between worlds. For those who first heard it, the story sounded like myth, perhaps even science fiction. But there was something profoundly haunting about it. The precision of the discs, the faint writing spiraling around them like coded whispers, the suggestion of a forgotten contact, all of it combined to create a mystery that refused to be ignored. In time, other researchers attempted to locate these stones, to verify their existence. Some claimed that a number of them had been displayed in museums across China during the 1970s, only to vanish again in state archives or private collections. Photographs began to circulate, grainy, ghost-like images showing the round discs laid out on tables, their spiral patterns glinting under weak light. To skeptics, the photos proved nothing. To believers, they were glimpses of forbidden knowledge. The story of the Dropa stones occupies a strange borderland between history and myth, between evidence and imagination. And it is in this liminal space that its allure truly lies. If the stones were genuine, their implications would be monumental. They would suggest that humanity's timeline, our understanding of contact, technology, and civilization, is woefully incomplete. Yet no definitive proof has ever emerged. There are no surviving physical samples verified by international experts, no modern peer-reviewed studies confirming their existence. The entire phenomenon rests on a few reports, scattered photos, and the echo of a story that may or may not have ever happened. And yet, something about it feels older than the reports themselves. Many ancient cultures speak of beings descending from the sky, teachers, visitors, gods cloaked in fire and light. The Dogon tribe of Africa speaks of star people from Sirius. The Sumerians wrote of the Anunnaki, who came from above to shape humanity. The ancient Chinese, too, told tales of heavenly emissaries who brought knowledge from the stars. The Dropa story, then, fits neatly into a pattern that stretches across the planet, a pattern of mythic contact, perhaps born from something our species once witnessed and then forgot. Skeptics, of course, offer more grounded explanations. Some suggest the discs could be ancient burial markers or symbolic religious objects, perhaps even musical instruments. Others believe the entire narrative was fabricated, the invention of a journalist or storyteller in an age when the world was hungry for mysteries of the extraterrestrial kind. Indeed, the tale first gained international attention during the height of the space race, when humanity was gazing upward with new and restless curiosity. But there's a quiet strangeness even in skepticism. If it were merely a hoax, why has the story persisted for so long? Why do generations continue to whisper about it, to draw the spirals in notebooks, to imagine small, fragile beings trudging through mountain snow thousands of years ago, searching for warmth and belonging? Perhaps the power of the Dropa stones does not lie in their authenticity, but in their symbolism. They are, in a sense, an artifact of longing, the human need to believe that we are not alone, that our story is part of something greater. In this way, the stones become less about aliens and more about us, about our yearning for connection, for understanding, for a place in the vast and silent cosmos. The mind can easily wander into poetic speculation. Imagine those beings, if they ever existed, their delicate fingers tracing spirals into stone, recording their sorrow in a language that could endure longer than memory. Imagine their eyes reflecting the starlight, their voices whispering to the wind as they told their tale to an uncomprehending world. It is a melancholy image, one that stirs both wonder and pity. Whether true or imagined, the story of the Dropa stones invites a gentler kind of reflection, not on alien civilizations, but on our own capacity for myth-making. Humans have always reached for the stars, not only with rockets, but with stories. We write messages in constellations, paint gods in the night sky, and listen for voices in the static between worlds. The Dropa legend, in this sense, is a modern echo of an ancient impulse to find meaning in the great silence above. And yet, one detail lingers like a whisper through the centuries: the spiral. Across time and cultures, the spiral has appeared again and again, carved into cave walls, woven into textiles, painted onto pottery. It is the symbol of the cosmos, of cycles and return, of eternity folding in upon itself. The Dropa stones, with their spiraling inscriptions, may not be records of extraterrestrial arrival, but they do remind us that humanity's fascination with the infinite is ancient and universal. Even the mountains themselves seem complicit in the mystery. The Biancola Range remains remote and largely unexplored, its peaks often shrouded in mist, its caves uncharted. It is easy to imagine secrets lying hidden within, untouched by light for thousands of years. Perhaps, beneath layers of dust and silence, the stones still wait, patient, unbothered by disbelief, content simply to exist. In the soft rhythm of the narrator's voice, the story turns inward. It becomes less about evidence and more about wonder. The Dropa stones remind us that not all mysteries are meant to be solved. Some are meant to be contemplated, to lull the mind into that dreamlike space between curiosity and peace, where truth and myth dissolve into one another like twilight blending into night. Science demands proof, and rightly so. But the human heart often seeks something different, the comfort of possibility. The Dropa stones offer that, a gentle haunting, a whisper that says the universe might be stranger, kinder, and more connected than we can comprehend. Perhaps that is why the story refuses to die. It persists not because it is proven, but because it speaks to something primal, a memory, perhaps, of when we once looked up at the night sky and felt certain that someone was looking back. As the narration fades, the imagery softens. A cold mountain wind sweeping through narrow valleys, the sound of stones shifting in the dark. Somewhere in that silence, a faint echo, like the hum of a forgotten machine or the low pulse of a heartbeat, vibrates through the stillness. The spiral markings catch the dim light and seem, for a moment, to turn. Maybe it is an illusion, or maybe it is the memory of a story still being told, not in words, but in stone. And as the section closes, the voice drifts into quiet reflection. The Dropa stones, whether ancient relics or beautiful fictions, remain a symbol of humanity's endless curiosity. They remind us that beneath the hard surface of reason, there will always live a spark of wonder, that somewhere between the mountains and the stars, mystery still endures, patient and eternal. In the dim light of a quiet cathedral, behind glass and shadow, lies a length of linen unlike any other. To some, it is a sacred relic, the burial cloth of Christ himself, the physical imprint of the divine moment of resurrection. To others, it is a medieval forgery, a masterpiece of artistry and illusion. Yet to all who gaze upon it, the Shroud of Turin remains one of the most haunting and mysterious objects ever discovered. It is not merely an artifact, it is a presence. When one looks upon it, there is an eerie stillness, as if time itself holds its breath. The faint sepia image of a man, front and back, seems to float upon the fabric. His features are calm, his body marked with wounds, wrists pierced, a gash in the side, traces of blood along the brow. The image is neither painted nor drawn. It appears almost like a photographic negative, an echo of light burned into cloth. And it has haunted the scientific world for more than a century. The story begins in 1898, when an amateur photographer named Secondo Pia was granted permission to take the first ever photographs of the shroud, which had long been venerated in Turin's Cathedral of St. John the Baptist. When he developed the negatives in his darkroom, Pia froze in disbelief. The plate revealed not the faint, ghostly blur he expected, but a sharply detailed image, a man's face, serene yet sorrowful, with an almost three-dimensional depth. It was as if the negative had captured the positive, as though the shroud itself was already a photographic record. From that moment, the shroud crossed a boundary. It was no longer only a religious relic, it was a scientific enigma. Over the following decades, countless researchers, theologians, chemists, and skeptics turned their attention to the cloth. Each came seeking certainty, and each left with more questions than answers. Radiocarbon dating performed in 1988 seemed to place the linen's origin in the 13th or 14th century, suggesting a medieval creation. But the results, though widely reported, were soon challenged. Critics pointed to possible contamination from centuries of handling, fire damage, and repairs that may have introduced newer fibers into the sample. Others noted that the section tested was taken from a corner known to have been rewoven after a fire in 1532. The debates grew fierce, faith against data, belief against skepticism. Yet what no one could explain was the image itself. It is not composed of pigment or dye. It exists only on the outermost fibers of the cloth, less than 1/1000th of a millimeter deep. There are no brush strokes, no signs of paint or artistic technique. The image seems to be the result of some unknown form of discoloration, a dehydration of the cellulose fibers, almost as if the cloth had been briefly exposed to a burst of radiant energy. The scientists who examined it under ultraviolet and infrared light found no known mechanism in nature that could reproduce such a pattern. Some likened it to a scorch, yet there is no heat damage. Others suggested a chemical reaction from bodily fluids, but the precision and symmetry of the image defied such explanations. It was as if light itself had burned the outline into the fabric, a sudden, silent flash, leaving behind a perfect negative of a man who was once alive. The notion of radiation became a recurring theme in theories about the shroud. Could it have been created by an unknown burst of energy, released in the moment between death and something beyond death? The question hangs suspended between science and spirituality, unanswerable but endlessly compelling. And then there are the bloodstains, real, verifiable human blood, identified as type AB. They correspond with the marks of crucifixion, the wrists, the feet, the crown of thorns, the wound in the side. The patterns of flow match what would occur if the body had been wrapped while still bleeding. Even modern forensic pathologists have noted the consistency of these markings with known physiological responses. But still, the central mystery persists. How was the image itself created? To many, the shroud is not evidence of a miracle, but of mastery, a demonstration of some lost or misunderstood technology. Others see it as the product of faith and imagination, a medieval relic designed to inspire devotion in an age when the boundary between the miraculous and the material was thin. But there is another, subtler possibility, that the shroud, real or forged, was not created to deceive but to reveal. In its silent presence, it forces humanity to confront something deeper than proof. Whether divine or human, authentic or false, it speaks to our need to see, to make visible what we cannot understand. The face on the shroud is not only the face of a man. It is a mirror for our longing for transcendence, for evidence that life, in some way, defies death. Over the years, artists, skeptics, and scientists alike have attempted to reproduce the image. Some used heat, others, chemical reactions, or even high-voltage radiation. All failed to capture the peculiar combination of delicacy and depth that defines the shroud. It remains, in a very real sense, irreproducible, an image that does not quite belong to art, science, or faith alone. And so it endures, quietly, in the cathedral vaults. A piece of linen that holds within its fibers a story far larger than its physical form. When pilgrims come to see it, they are struck not only by its mystery, but by its stillness. There is something profoundly peaceful about it, the calm after suffering, the trace of light after shadow. It invites not awe, but silence. There is an ancient human tendency to create relics, to preserve fragments of something holy, tangible reminders of the intangible. From the bones of saints to sacred statues, relics have long served as bridges between the material and the divine. The Shroud of Turin, whether authentic or not, fulfills this purpose perfectly. It is a threshold between science and belief, between what is visible and what is beyond sight. But what if it is more than that? What if it is not simply an artifact of faith, but an artifact about faith, a physical manifestation of humanity's greatest question? Does something of us remain when we die? The face on the cloth seems to whisper yes, but in a voice so faint it could easily be mistaken for our own. The shroud's survival is itself almost miraculous. It has endured fires, wars, and centuries of handling. At times, it has been hidden, stolen, and nearly destroyed. Yet, through it all, it persists like a shadow that refuses to fade. The fabric carries scars, scorched edges, triangular burn marks from molten silver that dripped onto it during the fire of 1532. But these imperfections only deepen its mystery, as if the object itself has shared in the suffering of the image it bears. To stand before it, even in photographs, is to feel something timeless. The faint outline of a human form, fragile, serene, and yet unyielding to explanation, reminds us of how thin the veil is between presence and absence. It is a relic not only of religion, but of consciousness itself, a symbol of how the human mind seeks permanence in a world made of impermanence. Perhaps it is why it continues to draw both scientists and believers alike. In a laboratory, its fibers are examined under electron microscopes. In cathedrals, candles burn in reverent silence. In both places, the same question is asked: how can something so simple, a piece of cloth, hold so much mystery? Some scholars have noted a poetic irony. The shroud, which appears to show a man who transcended death, is itself immortalized by its inability to decay. Others believe its enigma is its true purpose, not to prove or disprove, but to make us feel that trembling space between knowledge and wonder. The image may be a miracle, or it may be a message written in the universal language of mystery. Imagine, for a moment, the moment of its creation, if creation is the right word. A burst of light, so brief it cannot be measured, illuminating the contours of a human form, imprinting not color but essence onto the cloth. The light fades, the air cools, and the linen falls still, an eternal photograph of transformation. Whether that light was divine or natural hardly matters anymore. What matters is that it reminds us of something sacred, that existence itself leaves an impression. The Shroud of Turin, then, becomes more than a relic. It becomes a meditation on death, faith, art, and the strange, enduring need of humanity to touch what cannot be touched. As the narration drifts towards silence, the voice slows, as if reciting a lullaby for the restless mind. The candlelight flickers against the fabric. The faint image seems almost to breathe. Outside, the cathedral bells toll softly through the night, each note fading into the next like a heartbeat of time itself. In the stillness that follows, we are left with no answers, only the quiet recognition that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, but to be felt. The shroud remains what it has always been, a question woven in linen, a whisper suspended between worlds. And in that whisper lies its power, because whether one believes or doubts, the Shroud of Turin reminds us that beneath all our science and certainty, the unknown still waits, patient, eternal, and softly glowing, like the faint image of a ghost that will never quite fade away. Across the pages of history, through the myths of countless cultures, there exists a recurring and unsettling theme: the giants. Tall, powerful beings, sometimes benevolent, sometimes terrifying, who walked the earth long before recorded memory could contain them. Their stories are scattered across the globe, in the mountains of Europe, the valleys of Asia, the deserts of the Americas, whispered in legends, carved into stone, and occasionally hinted at in the most puzzling of archaeological finds. The question lingers quietly, hauntingly. Could any of it be true? From the ancient Sumerians to the Norse sagas, the idea of giants pervades storytelling. The Anunnaki, described in Mesopotamian tablets, were powerful beings whose immense stature and godlike abilities shaped the fates of humans. The Norse spoke of Jotnar, creatures of enormous size and strength, whose presence was both a threat and a necessary counterbalance to the gods themselves. Even in the Bible, the Nephilim are described as mighty men of old, men of renown, giants who walked among humanity before the flood. Across continents and centuries, the tales converge, hinting at a world in which colossal humans, or humanoids, were not just myth, but memory. The fascination with giants is not purely symbolic. Archaeologists and explorers have, at times, claimed to have found physical evidence of beings far larger than ordinary humans. Reports abound of enormous skeletons, bones measuring far beyond the average human frame. Some claim these remains are buried in caves, hidden beneath the sands of deserts, or submerged in riverbeds, long erased by time. While many of these accounts have been dismissed or debunked as exaggerations or hoaxes, the sheer persistence of these stories across cultures invites reflection. One famous tale comes from North America in the 19th century. In the Ohio Valley, farmers unearthed graves containing skeletons reportedly measuring over 7 feet in height, far beyond the average for the time. Newspaper articles described the skeletons in detail: elongated skulls, massive femurs, rib cages that dwarfed the largest modern human specimens. Some of the bones were sent to museums for further examination, yet, strangely, many disappeared over time, cataloged poorly, or lost in private collections. Their absence only deepened the mystery. Similar discoveries have been reported in Europe and the Middle East. In Greece, tombs and burial mounds occasionally reveal remains of unusually large stature, while in the mountainous regions of Peru, local folklore speaks of pre-Incan giants whose remains were sometimes discovered in isolated caves. In each case, the physical evidence is tantalizing yet frustratingly incomplete, as if the world itself conspires to keep these beings just beyond verification. Beyond human imagination and folklore, there is the question of biology. Could giants, as described in legends, have physically existed? Skeletal remains of extraordinary size do occur in the human record, though rarely. Medical conditions like gigantism, caused by overproduction of growth hormone, can produce individuals of remarkable height, sometimes over 8 feet tall. Though such cases are exceptional. But the giants of legend are often described as far larger, far stronger, and more robust than these medical anomalies would suggest. It raises the uncomfortable thought that either human history has been more diverse than we assume, or that myth and memory have merged into something that seems physical, yet is not. Many cultures describe these giants not only in terms of size, but also in terms of behavior and knowledge. They were builders of monumental structures, architects of impossible works. The Nephilim, for instance, were said to possess knowledge of the stars, the earth, and sacred rituals. The Jotnar of Norse myth were often depicted as possessing wisdom or magic, far surpassing mortal comprehension. Could these attributes have been inspired by encounters with people of extraordinary size and ability? Or are they symbolic, representing forces of nature, chaos, or mortality itself? In North America, a more modern set of reports emerged in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Excavations in areas such as Tennessee and Kentucky unearthed skeletons measuring 8, 9, and even 10 feet long, often alongside artifacts that seemed sophisticated and ancient. Many of these discoveries were documented in contemporary newspapers and journals, though the records were frequently lost, suppressed, or discredited. Skeptics point to exaggeration, sensationalism, and misidentification, ordinary human remains interpreted through the lens of folklore. Yet one cannot ignore the sheer repetition of these stories across time and geography. The recurrence is too consistent, too strange, to be wholly dismissed. The fascination with giants is not merely academic. It resonates in the human psyche. There is a profound psychological allure to imagining beings larger than ourselves, a primal recognition of power, awe, and fear. Giants evoke the sense that humanity is not the only measure of scale, that the Earth was once shared with creatures capable of challenging our perception of size and strength. In a sense, they represent the unknown made tangible. The possibility that our ancestors walked alongside beings that now exist only in the shadows of myth. Some theories have suggested that ancient monuments, like the massive stone walls of Sacsayhuaman in Peru, the megalithic ruins of Europe, or even the enormous mounds of North America, might be linked to giants, inspired by their labor or designed for them. Whether metaphorical or literal, the association lingers. Each heavy stone, each carefully measured construction, becomes more than architecture. It becomes a question, a whisper, were humans always alone in shaping this world? Skeptics often remind us that evidence of giants is scarce, anecdotal, and sometimes fabricated. Many of the most famous reports have been challenged, discredited, or revealed as hoaxes. Museums have occasionally admitted to losing or mislabeling skeletal remains that fueled such legends. Yet the absence of evidence is not evidence of. Beneath the rolling hills of Zhejiang province in China, shrouded in mist and time, lies a network of caverns that challenge everything we thought we knew about human history. Unlike natural caves carved by rivers or geological pressure, these chambers are entirely artificial, meticulously hewn from solid rock with precision that modern engineers struggle to replicate. Known today as the Longyu Caves, they stretch across the earth like an underground labyrinth, yet their origins remain one of the most perplexing enigmas of the ancient world. Discovered in 1992 by a local villager who stumbled upon a hidden entrance while dredging a pond, the caves were initially met with disbelief. As the first explorers descended, they were struck by the enormity of what lay beneath. Enormous rooms, some spanning hundreds of square meters, supported by pillars and lined with walls marked by hundreds of parallel grooves. The ceilings, smooth and almost polished, bore no signs of collapse or erosion. The sheer scale and symmetry were staggering. A subterranean palace hidden in plain sight, its purpose and builders unknown. The caves are vast. Some chambers reach heights of over 20 meters, their floors and ceilings adorned with intricate carvings, grooves, and patterns repeated with mathematical precision. There are no written records or inscriptions to explain why they were built. No tools have been found. The alignment and symmetry of the rooms suggest intentionality far beyond mere shelter or storage. It is as if whoever carved them had a clear vision, a plan that extended across dozens of chambers, yet left no explanation for posterity. Scholars who have examined the Longyu Caves are careful, almost reverent, in their assessments. Modern excavation techniques and carbon dating of nearby materials suggest that they could be over 2,000 years old, predating most historical records of large-scale underground construction in the region. Yet their style and execution appear so advanced that some researchers hesitate to attribute them to any known culture of the period. The labor required, even with modern tools, would be extraordinary. The effort invested implies a purpose significant enough to justify immense human sacrifice of time and energy. One of the most baffling aspects is the precision of the chisel marks on the walls. The grooves, arranged in parallel rows, are consistently spaced, creating a texture that is both functional and decorative. Acoustics within the caves are remarkable. Sound travels with eerie clarity, carrying even whispers across vast distances. Water dripping from the ceiling produces faint echoes that resonate through the chambers, as if the caves were designed with both the eye and ear in mind. Some suggest these spaces could have been ceremonial, spiritual, or even astronomical in purpose, yet no definitive evidence exists. Despite being discovered only a few decades ago, the Longyu Caves continue to elude comprehensive understanding. Unlike other archaeological sites, there are no artifacts, no pottery, tools, or human remains that hint at who built them or how they were used. This absence of context amplifies their mystery. They exist as an architectural statement frozen in stone, a silent testament to skill, ambition, and perhaps a worldview that has long been forgotten. The discovery of multiple caves in the same region complicates the picture further. Researchers have found at least 20 interconnected chambers, all exhibiting similar patterns of construction. Yet none are mentioned in historical texts, and there is no local folklore that could explain their origin. This silence is profound. Entire underground cities built with precision vanish from memory, leaving only shadows of human ingenuity. The caves challenge our assumptions. Had civilizations achieved feats far beyond what history currently records? Or were these chambers created for reasons beyond our comprehension, perhaps as ceremonial spaces, repositories of sacred knowledge, or even experiments in acoustics and geometry? The Lanyu Caves also invite reflection on scale and perspective. Walking through them, one feels the weight of human ambition pressing from every wall. The massive columns carved from bedrock, the perfectly even floors, and the immense chambers suggest a civilization with both the patience and vision to build for centuries, not decades. It is almost impossible not to be humbled by the effort, the coordination, and the knowledge required to achieve such precision without modern machinery. Some theorists have suggested more extraordinary possibilities. Could the caves represent knowledge or skills lost to time? Might they be remnants of a prehistorical civilization whose records were destroyed or forgotten? The echoes of human activity remain, yet the details are lost, a tantalizing hint that our understanding of the past is incomplete. The deeper one descends into the caves, the more apparent it becomes that these are not merely holes in the ground, but deliberate, monumental works, carrying meaning we may never fully grasp. Visitors describe a sensation of strangeness, a subtle unease that accompanies the vastness of the chambers. There is a quiet harmony in the architecture, a rhythm to the lines etched into the walls, as if the caves themselves are speaking in a language we cannot decipher. Shadows stretch and fold across the rock. Light refracts in unexpected ways, and the silence seems thick with intention. Even without artifacts or inscriptions, the spaces communicate a sense of purpose, a deliberate shaping of the environment that feels almost alive. The Lanyu Caves challenge conventional ideas about history and human capability. In a world where progress is often assumed to be linear, these chambers suggest something different. That knowledge can be lost, that mastery can exist and then vanish, leaving only traces that baffle those who come later. They remind us that the past is not always neatly preserved in texts and monuments. Sometimes it is hidden beneath our feet, silent, patient, waiting for discovery. The mystery deepens when considering how such precise work was accomplished. Some researchers have attempted to replicate the techniques with traditional chisels, but the sheer uniformity and scale of the grooves defy easy explanation. It is not only a question of labor, but of planning and vision. The creators must have had a map, a design, and a method to maintain consistency across dozens of chambers, all without written instructions or mechanical tools. It is a puzzle that continues to provoke both awe and humility. Despite their isolation, the caves connect to broader patterns in human history. They echo the precision of other ancient architectural marvels, the Great Pyramids, Stonehenge, Machu Picchu, structures that combine technical skill with an almost mystical sense of purpose. But unlike these, the Lanyu Caves are hidden, underground, and almost completely unknown until recently. They suggest that monumental work was not confined to public displays or visible achievements, but could also exist in secrecy for reasons we may never fully understand. As we explore the labyrinthine corridors in imagination, the silence of the caves becomes a meditation. Time seems to slow. The grooves in the walls invite the mind to trace them endlessly, contemplating the hands that carved them and the lives they lived. Perhaps the Lanyu Caves were a testament to devotion, ritual, or knowledge, or perhaps they were built simply because humans possess an impulse to shape the world around them, even when no one will see. In the shadows of the chambers, light and dark converse in delicate tension. The shadows stretch across carved lines, accentuating the depth and precision of the work. Each step echoes against the stone, a reminder that these halls are not only spaces but instruments, resonating with the passage of time itself. It is as if the creators intended the caves to endure, to whisper across millennia, to challenge every generation that dares to descend. Ultimately, the Lanyu Caves are a lesson in humility. They show us that human history is layered and complex, that mastery and ambition can exist in forms entirely erased from memory, and that the earth itself holds secrets we may never fully comprehend. In their quiet, immense presence, we are reminded that the past is alive in subtle ways. Through the geometry of stone, the rhythm of carved grooves, and the echo of footsteps across hidden halls. And as we emerge from the caves in imagination, back into sunlight and the open world, a sense of wonder lingers. The Lanyu Caves have left a mark on our consciousness, a whisper that even the most disciplined and measured minds cannot ignore, that beneath the surface of the known world, vast and silent, extraordinary mysteries await. And sometimes, all we can do is listen, and let the quiet majesty of the hidden architecture beneath the earth shape our understanding of history and human possibility. In 1901, a team of sponge divers exploring the waters near the small Greek island of Antikythera stumbled upon a wreck that had lain hidden for centuries. Amongst the bronze statues, pottery, and jewelry, they discovered something so peculiar, so intricate, that it would take decades for humanity to fully grasp its significance. A corroded tangle of gears and wheels, no larger than a shoebox, yet capable of astonishingly complex calculations. This artifact, now known as the Antikythera mechanism, is often called the world's first analog computer, and it continues to baffle scientists, historians, and engineers alike. At first glance, it seemed unintelligible. Bronze fragments encrusted with marine corrosion and time lay scattered, appearing to be nothing more than pieces of a damaged clockwork. Yet careful examination revealed a carefully constructed system of interlocking gears, each tooth precisely cut, each wheel perfectly aligned. Its purpose was unclear, but it was undeniably sophisticated, far beyond anything expected from the 1st century BCE. The mechanism's genius lies in its function. Research over the decades, particularly using X-ray imaging and 3D modeling, has shown that it could predict astronomical positions with extraordinary accuracy. The device tracked the cycles of the sun, the moon, and possibly even the planets. It could calculate eclipses, lunar phases, and the irregularities of the moon's orbit. In essence, it was a mechanical map of the cosmos, reflecting a level of scientific understanding that many historians had assumed impossible for its era. What makes the Antikythera mechanism so haunting is the paradox it represents. On one hand, it is clearly the product of human ingenuity, evidence that ancient scientists and engineers possessed knowledge and skill comparable to Renaissance or even modern technology. On the other hand, nothing like it is known from the historical record until more than 1,000 years later. Its complexity vanishes almost entirely from the archaeological record, leaving only this one artifact as a tantalizing glimpse of lost expertise. The mechanism consists of at least 30 gears, though fragments suggest there may have been more. The teeth are uniform and precise, requiring a sophistication in metalworking previously thought impossible for the time. Its creators had to understand not only gear ratios, but also astronomical cycles, a combination of disciplines that modern engineers would recognize as remarkable. That such knowledge existed in the ancient world and then seemingly disappeared challenges our assumptions about linear technological progress. Some theories suggest the Antikythera mechanism was the culmination of centuries of Greek astronomical and mathematical study. Figures like Hipparchus and Archimedes, whose understanding of geometry, motion, and celestial mechanics was extraordinary, may have influenced its creation. Yet even with such context, the mechanism's precision astonishes. Its calculations were accurate enough to predict eclipses years in advance, to account for the elliptical motion of the moon, and to model the complex interplay of celestial bodies. tasks that modern mechanical devices find challenging without electronic assistance. The device also raises philosophical questions about the nature of knowledge and history. How many other technological wonders did the ancient world produce, only to have them lost to time? How many ideas, discoveries, and innovations have vanished, buried by centuries of neglect, war, or natural disaster? The Antikythera mechanism is a reminder that human history is not a straight line of progress, but a series of peaks and valleys, where brilliance can appear and disappear without warning. Beyond its technical marvel, the mechanism has an almost poetic resonance. Its function is to map the heavens, to track the movements of stars and planets, connecting human hands to the cosmos. Each gear and wheel is a metaphor, a physical expression of the ancient desire to understand the universe, to bring order to the vast, incomprehensible sky. It embodies the timeless human quest to measure, predict, and find harmony in the celestial rhythm, a pursuit that transcends culture and era. The story of its discovery adds to the mystique. The Antikythera wreck had lain undisturbed in the Aegean Sea for centuries, hidden by darkness and sediment. The mechanism, corroded and fragmented, survived the same currents and centuries of decay, as if deliberately waiting to be found by those capable of marveling at it. Its preservation is almost miraculous, a bridge across millennia that allows us to peer into the minds of people who lived 2,000 years ago. Attempts to recreate the mechanism highlight its extraordinary sophistication. Modern engineers, using only the tools and knowledge presumed to be available at the time, have struggled to replicate its precision. Even minor errors in gear ratios or tooth placement can render a model ineffective, underscoring the advanced understanding of both astronomy and mechanics that the original creators must have possessed. Each successful reconstruction feels like a conversation across time, a whispered acknowledgement of human genius long forgotten. The Antikythera mechanism also invites reflection on the limits of human knowledge. We are so accustomed to assuming that technological complexity is a linear evolution, building steadily from primitive to advanced. Yet the mechanism challenges that notion, hinting at civilizations capable of engineering feats that were then lost, waiting centuries to be rediscovered. It forces us to reconsider our understanding of history, of what humans are capable of, and of the fragility of knowledge itself. Its impact extends beyond science and history. It resonates with imagination and wonder. The idea that ancient people, without electricity, computers, or modern metallurgy, could create a device of such intricacy invites awe. It is a story of curiosity, patience, and observation, a testament to the human desire to understand the universe, to reach beyond what is immediately visible, and to codify the motions of distant celestial bodies into something tangible and manipulable. Even now, more than a century after its discovery, the Antikythera mechanism continues to teach humility. It reminds us that the past is full of surprises, that our ancestors were capable of genius we may never fully appreciate, and that the line between myth and reality, between the known and the unknown, is often thinner than we assume. The corroded bronze gears, silent beneath glass in a museum, speak eloquently to the continuity of human curiosity, a dialogue that stretches from the distant past to the present moment, bridging centuries with ingenuity and imagination. As the narrative drifts to a close, one can imagine the ancient hands that assembled the mechanism, careful, deliberate, aware of the stars above, working in dim light, perhaps guided by fire or candle. Each movement was precise, intentional, and imbued with a sense of purpose. The Antikythera mechanism is not just a tool or a relic. It is a testament to the human mind, a whisper of brilliance that survived against the odds, patiently waiting for us to discover and marvel. In that quiet observation, as we contemplate the interlocking gears and the ancient calculations they represent, we are reminded that the pursuit of knowledge is timeless. The Antikythera mechanism exists as proof that curiosity, ingenuity, and a desire to comprehend the cosmos are enduring human qualities. And in its silent, intricate mechanics, we can feel a connection to those long-vanished engineers. A reminder that even across millennia, the human mind is capable of extraordinary vision, and that the mysteries of the past are never entirely out of reach. As the night deepens and the world outside grows quiet, we find ourselves contemplating the faint traces of human history that remain just beyond understanding. The Dropa stones, the Shroud of Turin, the giants of ancient lore, the Longu caves, and the Antikythera mechanism, each a fragment of a larger puzzle, each a whisper from a time and place that seems almost unreachable. Together, they remind us of a fundamental truth. History is not merely a record of what is known, but also a meditation on what is unknown. The human desire to explore, to dig, to question, and to imagine has led us to uncover these wonders, but also to confront the limits of our knowledge. The Dropa stones suggest a connection between worlds, real or imagined, that challenges the boundaries of what we consider possible. The Shroud of Turin, whether relic or illusion, invites quiet reflection on mortality, belief, and the human yearning for evidence of the divine. The giants of ancient lore push the imagination to wonder whether humans have always shared the planet with beings whose size and strength defy our understanding. The Longu caves show us the incredible sophistication of ancient engineering, a silent reminder that the past often holds knowledge we can scarcely reconstruct. The Antikythera mechanism stands as a testament to human ingenuity, a bridge across millennia that connects our curiosity to the minds of people long gone. What links these discoveries is not certainty, but awe. Each one is a threshold, a point where history brushes against myth, where science meets imagination, and where fact and possibility intertwine. They remind us that the world is vast, layered, and mysterious, and that even as we uncover fragments, much remains hidden. There is a profound beauty in this uncertainty. The gaps in knowledge, the questions without answers, allow the mind to wander, to imagine, and to dream. In reflecting on these ancient mysteries, one also confronts the nature of human perception and memory. How often do we dismiss the inexplicable simply because it does not fit into familiar narratives? How often do we accept the comfortable explanation and ignore the whisper of possibility? These artifacts and legends, whether fully real, partially interpreted, or entirely mythic, challenge us to listen more closely, to allow the unknown a place in our understanding of the world. Perhaps that is their greatest gift. Not the answers they provide, but the questions they inspire. They encourage patience, humility, and a reverent curiosity. In contemplating a smooth stone disc etched with tiny spirals, a corroded bronze mechanism, a giant skeleton lost to time, or a vast subterranean chamber, we are reminded that human history is not linear or complete. It is a living tapestry, woven with threads of discovery, imagination, and sometimes inexplicable wonder. The calm, poetic truth of these mysteries lies in their persistence. They endure because they appeal to a fundamental part of the human spirit, the desire to reach beyond the ordinary, to glimpse something extraordinary, to encounter the sublime in the quiet and hidden corners of the world. And in that encounter, even without certainty, we find a kind of solace. For in the space between what is known and what is unknown, the mind is free to wander, to explore, and to dream. As the night winds down and our thoughts settle, these ancient wonders leave a lingering impression. They remind us that the past is not dead. It speaks in echoes, in stone, in cloth, in legend. And as we close our eyes, drifting toward sleep, we carry with us a sense of connection to something vast and enduring, a world in which mystery itself is a companion, patient and eternal, inviting us to imagine, to wonder, and to keep searching for the unsolved wonders that still await discovery. In the end, the ancient mysteries of our world are not simply puzzles to be solved, but experiences to be felt. They are reminders of our place in the cosmos, of the fragile yet persistent thread of human curiosity, and of the enduring allure of the unknown. And as the quiet of night envelopes us, they encourage a gentle surrender to wonder, a calm recognition that some stories are never finished, and that the beauty of history lies as much in its mysteries as in its truths. In the stillness, the whispers of the past continue. And in listening, we find both peace and inspiration, a reminder that history is alive, that the world is stranger than we know, and that the mysteries left unsolved are often the ones that linger most profoundly in the heart and mind.